Dear students, in my previous lecture on the topic salt analysis, we had an introduction to the salt analysis. In this lecture, we shall start learning the procedure of analyzing the acid radicals first, and we will choose dilute H2SO4 test as the preliminary or indicative test for the analysis of the acid radicals. I hope you will like it and use it for the analysis of the acid radicals. Thank you very much.
As I just said that we have got acid or acidic radical and basic radicals. We have got a systematic plan which is known as scheme of salt analysis, with the help of which we analyze acidic radicals and basic radicals separately. So first of all, I'll take up the steps which we take for the analysis of acidic radicals in a given mixture. As the name suggests, an acidic radical or an anion is derived from an acid. So to find out its presence, there will be some tests which are known as preliminary tests or simple test just to indicate or detect the presence of an anion or an acid radical. And after we find out that these are the acid radicals, we get an indication, then we perform the confirmatory tests or wet tests. So first of all, there are two tests which we use for the detection of acid radicals. These tests are known as, number one is dilute H2SO4 test, and number two is concentrated H2SO4 test. What these tests are? In case of dilute sulfuric acid test, we take the sample of the salt in a test tube and then we add a few drops of dilute H2SO4 to it. What happens? The acid decomposes that salt, and as a result of that decomposition, some sort of gas will come out. Then if we are able to identify that gas, then we'll get an idea that such and such acid radical is present there. Dilute sulfuric acid test is usually performed in cold. There are certain radicals which decompose in cold and give out some particular gas. But there are certain radicals which are slow in reacting with dilute sulfuric acid. Then in that case, we warm a little. We don't heat, because concentrated sulfuric acid test is always done when the substance is heated with the substance. So sometimes what happens that if we heat more in case of dilute sulfuric acid, some of the radicals which may be present in the category of concentrated sulfuric acid radicals, they may appear with this. So either we do it in cold or we warm a little. Now, which are the simple radicals or anions which we test with dilute H2SO4 test? These are carbonate, that is CO3 2 negative. Number two is bicarbonate, that is HCO3 negative 1. Then third is sulfide, S2 negative. Then is sulfite, that is SO3 2 negative. And then is thiosulfate, that is S2O3 2 negative. And then is nitrite, that is NO2 -1. So, as I said, that dilute sulfuric acid test is, say, indicative test. Then, how do we get an indication? When we take some salt out of these salts, let us take the case of carbonate. We take some carbonate, let us say this, Na2CO3, that is sodium carbonate. And we treat this with dilute H2SO4. What will happen? This acid, it's a, sulfuric acid is known as king of solvents or salts, acids. Then this decomposes most of the things. So then this dilute H2SO4 will decompose sodium carbonate and we'll get the formation of sodium chloride plus carbon dioxide plus water. I hope all of you might be knowing that this upward arrow means that gas is coming out. If you have downward arrow, it means precipitate is taking place. Okay? So, in this case, CO2 gas is evolved. Now, how to detect, how to check that this is carbon dioxide gas? There are some physical signs also, and there are chemical tests also. Physical sign is that carbon dioxide gas is a gas which has no smell, no color. And test is, when we pass this gas through freshly prepared lime water, then that turns milky. So I'm not giving here equations now, but just I'm giving you an indication. That in this case, carbon dioxide gas will be evolved. Then we test, and then we may come to know that carbonate may be there. But there's another salt which also gives carbon dioxide with dilute sulfuric acid, that is bicarbonate. So in case of bicarbonate also, suppose bicarbonate, I write, bicarbonate is this NaHCO3. When we add, say, dilute H2SO4 to it, again we will be getting the same thing, with 2NaCl plus carbon dioxide plus water. So, conclusion is that carbonate and bicarbonate both give carbon dioxide gas. So when carbon dioxide gas is being emitted as a result of reaction of the salt with dilute H2SO4, then we may have an idea that carbonate or bicarbonate may be present. Similarly, if we take the case of sulfide, so this is sulfide. In case of sulfide, let us say sodium sulfide plus H2SO4. So this will give you Na2SO4. I'm not balancing the equation. You'll get H2S gas. Now H2S gas has peculiar distinctive properties. It is colorless, but it smells like that of rotten eggs. Now when I usually interact with my students, then I ask them that, have you experienced smell like that of rotten eggs? Most of them say no. Then I said that, have you experienced the smell of a gutter? Then all of them will say yes. So in gutter, H2S gas is emitting out. So when you get a foul smell like that of a rotten eggs or the smell like that of a gas coming out of a gutter, then it is H2S gas, then it is coming out of sulfide. Similarly, if we have got sulfite, then this sulfite will give us sulfur dioxide gas, which is smelling like that of burning sulfur. Then there is a test that when it is passed through acidified dichromate solution, that solution turns green. So again we come to know that it is sulfite, and sulfite gas, is giving sulfur dioxide gas in dilute. Then in case of thiosulfate, when we treat any thiosulfate salt, that is say sodium thiosulfate, with dilute H2SO4, again we'll be getting sulfur dioxide gas. But apart from sulfur dioxide gas, sulfur will also be liberated or produced, and sulfur will be precipitated in the test tube. Then gas is coming out, but there will be yellow sort of deposition of sulfur there. Then we'll come to know that this is out of thiosulfate. Similarly, if we have got nitrite, we have got NO2 negative nitrite
and NO3 negative nitrate.
This nitrate is not decomposed by dilute sulfuric acid. It is decomposed by concentrated sulfuric acid, whereas nitrite is decomposed by dilute H2SO4. Of course, observations are the same in both the cases. That in this case, if we get reddish brown gas, that reddish brown gas is due to the emission of NO2 gas, that is nitrogen dioxide gas or nitrogen peroxide gas. So if it is emitted with the action of dilute H2SO4 on the salt, then it could be due to nitrite. But if it is emitted with concentrated H2SO4, then it will be nitrate. So, my dear students, आज हमने basically salt क्या होता है इसके बारे में बात की. Salt analysis is a part of bigger picture analysis, because मैंने बताया कि एनालिसिस का मतलब ये है कि वी आर टू एनालाइज द कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ ए पर्टिकुलर एंटिटी. और यहाँ सॉल्ट एनालिसिस इज अ ब्रांच ऑफ
Qualitative
analysis when applied to inorganic substances or salts. तो सॉल्ट के दो कंपोनेंट्स हैं. हमने कहा कि एसिडिक रेडिकल और बेसिक रेडिकल. फिर हमने ये कहा कि ये एज द नेम सजेस्ट एसिडिक रेडिकल कम्स फ्रॉम एसिड. तो उसको डिटेक्ट करने के लिए हमारे पास दो इंडिकेटिव टेस्ट हैं जिनको हम प्रीलिमिनरी टेस्ट भी कहते हैं. दैट इज dilute H2SO4 टेस्ट एंड concentrated H2SO4 टेस्ट. फिर मैंने आपको बताया कि देयर आर टू कैटेगरीज कि dilute H2SO4 टेस्ट है और concentrated H2SO4 टेस्ट है. तो उसके लिए अलग अलग रेडिकल्स हैं जो कि उससे डिटेक्ट किए जा सकते हैं. तो मैंने आपको बताया कि dilute सल्फ्यूरिक एसिड टेस्ट से हम कार्बोनेट बाइकार्बोनेट, जो कि dilute H2SO4 से कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड गैस लिबरेट करते हैं, वो डिटेक्ट कर सकेंगे. देन सल्फाइड रेडिकल जो कि H2S गैस लिबरेट करता है. देन सल्फाइड रेडिकल जो कि सल्फर डाइऑक्साइड गैस लिबरेट करता है. फिर थायोसल्फेट रेडिकल जो कि सल्फर डाइऑक्साइड गैस लिबरेट करता है विद द प्रेसिपिटेशन ऑफ सल्फर. और नाइट्राइट रेडिकल जो कि NO2 गैस लिबरेट करता है ऑन ट्रीटमेंट विद dilute H2SO4. तो सबसे पहले आपको ये याद करना ज़रूरी है कि भाई सॉल्ट क्या है और उसके जो कंपोनेंट्स हैं उसको हमने एनालाइज क्या करना है. dilute H2SO4 टेस्ट क्या है, कैसे परफॉर्म करते हैं और उसको कैसे चेक करते हैं. जैसे मैंने अभी आपको बताया कि मैंने सिर्फ एक या दो रेडिकल्स की थ्योरी आपको लिख के बताई है. अदरवाइज इन सब के केसेस में जैसे क्या रिएक्शन होता है, गैस क्यों लिबरेट होती है, और जब उसके साथ जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल ये H2S गैस थी. अब आपको ये तो पता चल गया कि H2S गैस की स्मेल लाइक दैट ऑफ रॉटन एग्स होती है, लेकिन इसका टेस्ट भी तो है एक. इसको अगर लेड एसीटेट पेपर इसके टेस्ट ट्यूब के माउथ के ऊपर रखे तो वो ब्लैक हो जाता है. इस तरह से दे हैव गॉट टेस्ट ऑल्सो जिससे ये पता चलता है कि कौन सा कंपाउंड बाहर निकल रहा है. सो दिस वाज द फर्स्ट पार्ट ऑफ दिस. तो इस तरह से अगर आप ये छोटे छोटे जो कैप्सूल हैं इनको अच्छी तरह से समझ लोगे, याद कर लोगे, प्रैक्टिस करके देखोगे, तो मेरा मानना है कि सॉल्ट एनालिसिस जो है वो आपको मुश्किल नहीं लगेगा और सिस्टमेटिकली आप उसको कर पाओगे. सो आज के लिए इतना ही. थैंक यू वेरी मच.